All right, everybody, this will be a warning to all politicians. I'm running for president 2024, part 79. I've said before, the reason I have that sunscreen facing the way it is because of the dash cam down there in the center there, the little hole. So when I put it, up there, it has to go over that. So the only way it really works is this way. If I turn the flag around, everyone will be letting me know it's upside down if it's facing the other way. So, and the silver side, is facing on the outside, and that's the reason it's done that way. Because I know that flying a flag in this position can mean nation in distress or a distress signal. So to avoid people telling me all the time, hey, the flag's flying the wrong way, you got it in the window wrong or whatever like that, I just do it this way. However, as things are unfolding in our nation, I think maybe this might not be too far from the truth here. Now, maybe to most people out there who aren't paying attention, things are just a bit strange in the nation right now. And there's a couple things I wanted to go over. Number one, it's apparent, if anybody has half a brain watching Joe Biden, that his mind is slipping. Like I said, I'm an independent. If given the choices, I would vote for Trump. Clearly over Joe Biden. And it's amazing that even though it's evident, should be evident to people, this man's mind is gone, Joe Biden's, they're still pushing the narrative and that the polls have him ahead and this and that. So either it's a great testimony to how dumbed down America is, or it's just a sign, like maybe as with the last election, that they're going to push the same thing. If Trump wins again, then they're all going to go through the whole shock and disbelief and have a reason to cause more anarchy, stuff, whatever. It seems to me, along with a lot of other things going on in the country, as long as they keep showing these polls that Trump is losing popularity and this and that and everything, they're going to keep pushing these narratives, these stories on the news. Whether it's with coronavirus, the protests, anything else, just like they kept pushing impeachment, and even though they had no evidence or anything for impeachment, it's just a relentless thing. Keep pushing, keep pushing, don't give up, keep pushing. It seems to be their mantra, even though clearly they have to be concerned a great deal with Joe Biden as their candidate. It's like it was the emperor with no clothes. Just don't talk about it. Don't acknowledge it. Just keep pushing this narrative. Trump is an evil racist. You see all kinds of crap that they irresponsibly air within the news media, that he's gonna install martial law and all this and everything and declare himself the Grand Wizard of the KKK, all kinds of crap and garbage. And so you have to wonder, like to myself, there's some very strange things going on. Watching news stories, And I don't want to make light of coronavirus. I know it's a real thing out there, and you have to take care, watch your health, practice some common sense things. However, I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. Like I hear reports that this malaria drug, there are doctors who say that is actually effective in combating the symptoms and stuff, and all these other types of things. And then now there's going to be a vaccine. They're in trials with a couple of them, and we're supposed to have that pretty soon and all this. So in any event, the people who are selling masks, which I believe a lot of that has to do with when they decided to push that, a lot of people invested in producing those masks, and they want to make their money back. So they're going to keep pushing for the wearing a mask, whether or not it actually does anything to prevent the spread. As long as you're social distancing, I think that's probably a little more effective than just having a mask on. But because look, most of us out here on the road, you know, where many have gone, you know, we'll stock up at Walmart, canned goods and this and that, sealed food stuff, but there's still times, you know, we're always using public restrooms and the showers at the truck stops, and we're counting on those people to keep those things cleaned and disinfected, which isn't easy. A truck stop's a very busy place, especially the ones where other motorists are visiting all the time, like, because even though they're shut down, if you're in California, on your way to Vegas, all the truck stops along the way there have a fair amount of, you know, the traveling public and other places in Florida and stuff who stop at these travel centers and stuff. They're really not truck stops anymore. They serve a wider variety of clientele. However, so we do get food from a lot of these fast food places that are within these travel centers, which I won't go into, but, you know, really used to be nice to be able to sit down, eat a meal and stuff, and then this whole industry seemed to shift where they don't even want you taking that time to stop and relax. And it has a lot to do with the obesity in drivers out here and everything, is the fast food and the always on eating on the go and stuff, instead of sitting and digesting your food and eating sensibly, etc. Anyhow, that's another topic. Anyhow, so we've never really heard the hard data on how this is actually transmitted and stuff, because look, if I social distance and you know, I'm taking my vitamins and getting vitamin D, getting out in the sunshine, I'm not cooped up, social distancing, etc., and all this, and then I go in and I get some food that's prepared in one of these fast food places by somebody who has it, even though they don't have the symptoms. Like with any other, I used to work in the restaurant business, and there were a lot of people who, even though they weren't supposed to, because the managers couldn't fill the shifts or didn't want to fill the shifts themselves, would not send people home who were obviously sick. And Board of Health says if you're sick, you're not in the food industry. Did I say healthcare before? Anyway, in the food industry, supposed to send people home who are sick. A lot of people still go in either because they're told they have to, or they need the money and they don't want the day off, what have you. So really, how this is transmitted, who exactly it's killing, I keep hearing, you know, it's killing more African Americans and Hispanics, etc. And there's a story that was just on, I think it was the BBC here I watched, where they re-emphasized that in like Hispanics are 18% of the population, but 34% of them are dying from it, etc. They don't go into all hard data as far as ages, this and that, lifestyles. Apparently, we keep hearing about how it's important to, or we're not hearing enough actually, about keeping your immune system strong. Because that's the first thing. If your immune system can't fight it out, then it gets into your lungs and makes you breathe harder because it attacks the hemoglobin, or makes it hard for your body to process the oxygenate the hemoglobin. So there's really not a lot of people who are just talking data and looking at the deaths, and like now finding out, like in places in Florida and other places where they say, oh, they're getting these spikes and these higher death tolls and stuff, that those deaths are now being reported. They happened weeks ago, but then they're reported on a day where there might only been, a couple of deaths actually due to COVID, but then they lump in these, we had 14 deaths due to COVID is reported on the news and this and that. Well, the other ones were from weeks ago. And we're not seeing any data on who's doing the autopsies and this and that. And we're not even hearing if there's anybody researching and looking at the hard data, And if this is attacking people with weak immune systems, how many people who are dying are HIV? Would there be a reason they wouldn't tell us that? Would they want? Is that part of the political correctness? How many are drug users? How many are homosexuals? If that has to do anything with it, we're not hearing a lot of things. And when it comes to medical data and stuff, you can't play politics with this type of stuff. You need the information so you know what you're dealing with and how to combat it. So looking at that, as far as coronavirus goes, number one, there's a lot of people playing politics with it. Number two, there's a lot of people who are looking to make money off of it. Three, there's a lot of people who are trying to make this wealth exchange. Right now, they gave them out like $600 a week or whatever in unemployment, which is more than what some people were making. Which I can't believe it'd be that much more for too many people, unless they're working part-time. Is the only way I can see it. But or people who are already on some type of assistance. So now they're bitching about they don't want to reduce that, and the other side is saying we need to reduce that because people won't go back to work, etc. And at the same time, you're seeing middle class people who are losing or on the verge of losing everything, small business, etc. by them keeping things closed. Now, what gets me is Home Depot, Walmart, your grocery store. There are plenty of businesses that are open and doing business. The trucking industry has not stopped. A lot of companies have let their people work from home, but the drivers are still out here dealing with this day in, day out, have been since day one. You see all these Hollywood people and these news people, especially from like these morning shows. Oh my God, how hard it's been being separated and having to do all this from home and all, for the most part, there's a lot of people who are not sheltering at home who are sitting except probably in isolated areas where they've been so bullshitted. Hey, you gotta stay in your house. You gotta stay in your house. No, you need some fresh air. You need to move around. You need to do something to keep your body and your mind physically active. So in the debates going on about the schools and stuff, I say, why can't you, just starting out, have like, half the kids in the school go, Monday, Tuesday, and then the other ones go Wednesday, Thursday, or whatever, or even divide it up in thirds somehow. Whatever you have to do to make the classes smaller. At first, or make it half weeks, even if it's full classrooms. Do it, hey, we're going to open, 3 days this week, see what happens. Take it in stages. Don't be all in or all out. And then they play games with, they don't want the federal involvement with the riots and the protests and stuff, but then they all get on TV and they say, well, we're not receiving any support from the Trump administration about school openings and what we should do and this and that and everything. And they're looking for fall guys and ways to play politics with it. I just watched, I think it was also on, might not have been BBC, but it was, maybe the PBS NewsHour, mayor for Kansas City, playing politics with it, and also with whether or not they need federal assistance. And when he was asked about the 100 people who were murdered in the city already this year or whatever, he kind of skipped over that and kept going on with stuff. And so the number one, they're playing politics with some of the stuff, but what's the big agenda behind it all? It's a grab for power, in more ways than one. It's a grab for racial power. It's a grab for, and that's not coming from the white side. This is going beyond having equality and stuff. This is about, payback and taking over for some of these people. Not all, but for some of them. They see it as a way of them going, by getting political power in this, of them then being able to go outside the bounds of constitutional law and this and that and everything, and just daring people to take them out of those positions, and they will then again scream racism, this and that. But you also see in universities and stuff where they want these segregated areas where it's no whites, and it's like, wait a minute, aren't we going completely past equality and then going completely opposite of the way it was in the 50s and into the 60s in segregation? So there's a lot of strange stuff going on in this country, and control of the media as a propaganda arm is playing a big part in it, where people aren't asked hard questions and exactly what their agendas are, etc. It's they can tell you one thing with a smiling face and this and that, and look and try and sound so educated and all this and everything, and skirt the whole thing, when the real agenda, they're not going to openly admit it on what they really feel, with the hatred and the rage and true intentions for a lot of these people. And you can see that clearly, how they cover up what's going on in the streets and make excuses for it, and they try and blame law enforcement. Now they're blaming Trump for central and federal law enforcement, and it's like, you're escalating this and everything. No, why are you people still in the streets? Why don't you just go home? If you weren't in the streets, there would be no problem. don't you just go home, get a life, get back to some sort of life? And I think that's another reason they want to keep things closed, because if people have, if they're not getting $600 a week and they have to go back to work and they don't have all the spare time, they're not going to be in the street. You understand? So I think there's an agenda going on where they want to keep this going so they can have the chaos in the streets. You know, and what's the purpose? Like in Portland, you keep trying to attack this federal building. What the hell does that have to do with anything? You're standing out in front of the federal building screaming at cops, Black Lives Matter. I'm sorry. Was there an African American unjustly killed by a cop at that site or something? I don't think so. So why are you there and screaming that? And why isn't it being reported in the major news media? You know, about the money that Black Lives Matter and Antifa and these other groups receive and who they receive it from, and you know, about them wanting being Marxist and all this types of stuff. And there was a video, you know, showing one of the demonstrations there when the police were running quote unquote protesters off. The one woman, if you want to call her that, was screaming how she hoped they all died and that the precinct burned down and they died with it and all this types of stuff. And here's the point about these types of people, and you're going to have to think about this, no matter what side you're on. If a foreign power was wanting to overturn this country or invade this country or whatever, these same people in the streets, and you can see these black militias and stuff and everything, who are demanding they want, you know, their own state and stuff like this, would quickly choose that side. They'd become guerrilla fighters for that foreign power, and, you know, would gladly slit your throats for their cause or whatever, because the foreign power would say, yeah, we'll give you this, we'll give you that, well, you'll rise up in the ranks. It's all tried and true what they've done before. Where, you know, you look around the world, the people they've used, made heroes out of some of the least educated, even sometimes most murderous people, and advanced them as, you know, in the ranks as some kind of folk hero and this and that, to push their socialist or communist cause. So have no doubt about it, and the FBI and CIA and everything should be looking into who is behind all of this, because these people, the hatred and the rage, have no doubt about it. If given the opportunity, if supported by a foreign power, and thought they could take over this country by joining that foreign power, would turn on this country violently in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. They'd be screaming revolution. You understand? And be used as pawns by a foreign entity. And the thing I want to get to with that is, if this doesn't all reek of what the Arab Spring, quote unquote Arab Spring was, and the people who are behind that, Obama, Clinton, Biden, you can throw him in there, those primarily Obama and Clinton who ran the country. Biden wasn't doing much of anything, or in on much of anything, or directing much of anything. You can bet your dollars to donuts it was Obama and Clinton. Social media, the destruction of the authorities and the police in those countries, all the same tactics are being employed here. All the same. Was that the testing ground over there? Was it the end goal to eventually use it here, or was that, you know, that was just to overthrow those countries, and then they said, hey, wait a minute, we're losing power here, we can use the same thing here? Either way, it's being done. And that's why I say it's a strange things going on in America. Because if you stop and you look at how things were done, and all you gotta do is look at Hillary laughing her ass off over the murder of Muammar Gaddafi. The types of people they used in those countries. They find the minority, the quote unquote oppressed, the not disconnected, what the hell's the word? Oh hell, I can't remember it. Maybe I'm getting Joe Biden disease. But it's a tactic. It's been a tactic of socialists and communists around the world. It's also been a tactic of the capitalists. It's also been a tactic of America to find those within countries who do not support their government and then fund them and support them, etc., etc. The debate over, right or wrong, surely if you would have used those tactics to overthrow Hitler, somebody could say, well, it's a good and useful thing or whatever. And I guess it's all a matter of perspective, what side you're on, what ideology you're behind, etc. But clearly, there's a push in this country. People are unhappy with their social standings, and the way they see to make their social standings better is by ripping yours apart. And that's one problem I have with socialism and these people who want everything. For myself and people like myself, and who for generations have gone out and busted their asses trying to get ahead, to leave a little more for their children than they had, etc. To see people who don't pay taxes, who don't work, living better lifestyles than you, and here you're out busting your ass day in, day out, and being taxed to death. And you have stoners, and whether they're stoners or not stoners, they want free everything. Free medical, free this, free that, free everything. And because they get so much state aid and all this and everything, and so many advantages, they end up living in better houses and driving better cars than you do, and you bust your ass every day. And then when you go to get the social program, hey, I'd like some of that free medical. No, you make too much money. It happens. It happens in this country day in and day out. And they want more of that. The working person, the middle class, lower middle class, upper middle class, however you want to put it, will be enslaved to foot the bill for all the people who don't want to do anything, or will only do what they want to do. They're not going to take a job until they get that exact job they want. Until then, they'll live off of subsistence. They will not want to pay anything for their medical or their schooling. Nothing. Somehow it's all owed to them. They've never paid into the system, but they want to reap the fruits that other people have labored for. And that's not right. So you have a lot of that going on, and that'll I'll end it on this one here. But I wanted to bring that point up too with the coronavirus, because when they were doing the story about, and it was in San Antonio, the lady was speaking from, and this is the thing you have to pay attention to with the news stories. All right, it's supposed to be on coronavirus and this and that, but then she throws in about how it's affecting more Hispanics because they don't have access to medical care. Like, you think all white people have access to medical care? Now, if there actually is a higher death rate among quote unquote minorities, let's try and find the real reason other than not access to medical care, because everybody in this country has access to an ER room or someplace. You're not going to be denied medical care. The real thing she should have been saying is, well, we have access to medical care, but then we don't pay our medical bills because we can't afford it. Something like that to that effect. And these stories are done, they're not done as news stories, they're like little mini movies. Because when they go from location to location and they set up scenes and stuff, you can tell it was a planned, thought out story, not just an interview. So I'll do more of that on part 80 here. Wish you all the best out there. Adios.